Hey, what's up, nerdies? English Dave here for the Nerdy Bunch with our part 2 of our Back to the Feature for American Psycho. This was released in 2000, starring Christian Bale, directed by Mary Harron. If you haven't seen part 1, we discussed the movie in general. We have a general discussion for the movie. Check out part 1. And in part 2, we're going to go a deep dive into the film itself, breaking down all the 3 acts and the various scenes. I'm here with my co-hosts Mercedes and Rocket Mike. What's up, everybody?
Hey.
American Psycho, the synopsis is as follows. A wealthy New York City investment banker executive, Patrick Bateman, hides his alternate psychopathic ego from his co-workers and friends as he delves deeper into his violent, hedonistic fantasies. We've already mentioned in part 1 that we really enjoyed this movie, and so we're going to go down into why. But for those listeners, I have to get into the right mind frame. I'm putting on my jacket because, I've got to be a businessman.
Oh, wow.
There we go. Now I feel the part.
You ready? Fitted.
There we go.
Valentino.
There you go, suited and booted. All right, now we can go into it. The movie has an interesting start. I want to talk to you, Sadie's. It opens up kind of giving us, letting us know not only what Patrick is like, but the world in which Patrick inhabits. We're introduced to like this fancy restaurant and the business guys, the super, everything like that. But then we kind of start seeing hints of Patrick's nature at the club. There's just that whole opening sequence introduction to Patrick and his fellow workers. Sadie's, what do you think?
I love that scene because like the whole time you're just like, oh, everything seems kind of normal, but you're like, something's off here. So you're not really sure how to put your finger on it. And obviously like all of that unfolds later into the film. But I loved kind of the realness, but also the ultra fakeness of that whole scene where there was nobody was really connecting with each other, but how he was able to kind of like see through all of that at the same time.
I agree. And like you said, it starts to give us hints. Again, if you didn't know where this film was going, you'll pick up on things that this isn't quite right, but then you start, it will make sense in hindsight. Mike, we get into Patrick's daily routine. He's a perfectionist in every way.
and this is kind of like where you start to see a little bit of the psychotic nature of him already. The fact that he goes into that much detail. Great that you take care of yourself, but it is almost at an obsessively psychotic way, because this is also where it resembles the book, which I tried reading probably like twice, and it gets into that much detail. Literally, you go like through 50 pages in, and he hasn't even reached his office yet. No. It's so detailed and so drug out. Wow. But at least you start to get more of like an inside of his mind. He is very detail oriented. Brands matter, the best of everything matters, and that's like, again, it goes back into how much he cares about himself and how everyone else cares about themselves, not much about each other.
And even in the scene later on, he tells his secretary, don't wear that outfit again, like telling her what to wear, how she should dress,
don't do this around me.
Right. We're introduced to his fiance, played by Reese Witherspoon. Fun fact, one of the reasons she and many other actors were put in this film is because the studio felt Christian Bale wasn't enough of a name, and they surrounded him with named actors at the time. So Reese Witherspoon plays his fiance, and I like this relationship because he does not give a shit about her in any way,
and she ignores it too.
Right?
She's like a coffee table of that relationship, like, right? Or no, she's the coffee table book of that relationship. Like nobody even touches the book. We're just, oh, that's nice. It's there.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Like he's like, I just want to listen to my Robert Palmer tape. He doesn't want to listen to her.
Right. Yeah.
And then it's established later on, like everyone is cheating with everybody, and nobody cares. It's like everyone sleeps with everyone else.
That's Wall Street finance, though. That shit hasn't changed at all. Like any of those guys, like when you see them at clubs, it's like, didn't you guys you didn't learn anything from this movie at all?
Right. One of the aspects I like about it, when he's having a dinner with all the other guys and they start talking all this shit, and he gives this very thoughtful speech about what's the word I'm looking for, about
just like society,
equality
really.
in society.
Oh yeah,
thinking, this is a nice guy. But then in hindsight you realize, no, this is just the face he puts on to be this person. Like a lot of people post this like rhetoric all the time as if they're these good people, but really they're not. And it gives you an insight into that world. I thought that was a very interesting addition.
No one really buys it either. It's kind of like, how touching, Patrick.
It's what we see now, but at least now people are exposed easier for what they are because we have social media, and there's easier things to like catch them in their like little like, wait, you're not actually a nice person. Whereas this person, Patrick, would have definitely went under the radar because there isn't Facebook or, you know, he wasn't able to post a meme about his political views this week.
And someone will say, "Oh, I had dinner with him. He did say some nice stuff." And it's like,
yeah,
no.
exactly.
He's saying it for you guys.
You don't really know him.
Right. Yeah, you don't really know him. He didn't do that. You weren't there last week.
Though that's the same conversation. He's talking to the woman, and she's like, "What do you do?" And what does he say? He's like murders and
executions.
Murders and executions.
It's like mergers and accusations, or
mergers and acquisitions.
Acquisitions.
Yeah.
I'm accusing you.
And then it's like, you know, when he's talking to that lady, it also shows you again how she doesn't care, because she in her head she's already finished off the sentence when he actually says murders and executions. And then what I like is that they're talking to each other as if they're going to like spend the night with each other, and then we cut, boom, next shot, laundromat, clean my sheets. And I thought this movie does a fantastic, because, you know, going to this movie, I thought this was a movie that's full of, I mean, when I originally saw it, was like a slasher film, constant murders you're seeing on screen.
Yeah.
But you barely see murders. But I love how this is done, because a lot's implied and you're like, oh, she did.
Yeah, it's a lot of imagination, which is what I loved about the film. You're right, there isn't a lot of gore at all, but it's just like, oh, he definitely like
didn't need it though.
No, you don't need it. It's just like, can you clean my sheets? She's like, what is that?
Cranberry juice, cranapple.
Cranberry juice.
My girlfriend had her period. Don't worry about it.
This we're introduced to what's his? I forget his first name, but his last name is Alan, played by Jared Leto.
Jared.
It's almost supposed to be another version of Patrick, right? Maybe a younger version to kind of, you know, and instantly, you know, when he comes with his business, because just before this, you know, Patrick showed off his business card, and then suddenly Paul Allen comes with his better business card. So the whole business card scene and introduction to Paul Allen. Mike, thoughts?
Yeah. Oh, well, for one, it's like, okay, now you're already seeing the competition and status between the, you know, everyone that's in his circle. And of course, it starts with the business card. He thinks he's already the champion. Just got this the other day. Boom, boom. Everyone's pulling out there. Paul Allen comes in and just dominates everybody.
Right.
And it's also now where you see he mistakes Patrick for somebody else, and Patrick's just going along with it. And he's like, we're all pretty much the same guy. In fact, he's like, we go to the same barber, we go to the same tailor. He's got the same glasses as I do. And he's like, but I have a slightly better haircut. You know, again, trying to one up every time. It's very Trumpian. You know, it's like, I'm supposed to be the better person than anyone else in this room. And it's just like it sets the stage of the theme for the rest of the movie, of that no one really knows anybody else but themselves, and it's just always an assumption, and no one cares. It's just self-empowerment, self-entitlement, me.
You know, you hit the nail on the head perfectly earlier on when you said about they're so similar, and so I think it makes the business card scene that much more powerful, because that's the only way they feel they can be different, is to have, you know, because they're so similar. The only difference,
little
like,
bit,
bit difference is the business card, and even the little things like Alan being able to get a reservation to Dorsey on a Friday night. It's like, oh shit, this is the one place. You must be the man in order to get, you know,
that's like trying to get into EMP now, 11 Madison Park. If somebody was like, you got a reservation at 11 Madison Park. Oh, wait, who do you know?
On a Friday night.
On a Friday.
Like, what?
I think that scene is so awesome, the business card scene, because it still like holds up to this day with the principles and like what that scene actually means, with a whole bunch of people trying to one up each other. I mean, and when this movie first came out, what did we have? MySpace. So it was everybody's MySpace accounts and who could make their MySpace page better, right? With all the URLs. And as time went on, it turned into this whole thing. And now it's not business cards or MySpace pages. It's who's got the better cell phone, you know? Whose cell phone can send, when BlackBerries were the
how many followers do you have?
Yeah. And now it's your Instagram account. Yeah. Because there's always going to be something, like everybody is almost all the same, especially when you go into that sort of, you know, who wants to be an influencer, who wants to work in finance, who wants to work in fashion. Those people are kind of the same. They fit kind of like I don't want to say stereotype, but there's a character that
archetype,
fits.
Right?
An archetype. There we go. An archetype. So when, as this movie and that scene goes along, you see that those archetypes still haven't changed, because people are still so thirsty to like be different, but to be exactly the same.
I agree. This is where we truly see, you know, the psychotic nature of Patrick. When you think at first he's going to help the homeless man, and he just kills him, just stabs him, you know, like, and it plays that idea that nobody cares about the poor homeless. You know, if I'm going to kill someone and get away with it because I'm this rich white guy, I can do it. He makes plans to kind of get together with Alan, and because Alan keeps calling him Marcus, and I love the fact that he takes him to a random restaurant. It's actually a good plan. Take him to a random restaurant, say a different name so everyone thinks, it helps the alibi.
It's
right?
a genius plan. He's calling this dude Marcus this whole time. I'm not Marcus.
Right. When Alan
Keep
was
going
like,
with it.
What's this place? There's nobody here. And it's like, yeah, nobody knows about it yet. It's just like
Just this average Mexican restaurant.
Right. That's all you have to say too. Like nobody knows about it. It's quiet on the scene.
We're on the inn. Trust me.
Right.
It's filling up soon.
But again, you see a bit of Patrick's nature come out more when he gets mad at the waiter when he tries to offer them the special. Little things come out like that. They start coming out. Mike, you've worked in that business before. I'm sure having idiot patrons like that is the worst.
Oh yeah. I mean, there's never a time when they're going to be the first ones to talk. You try to be human, say hello, and then it's just nothing. It's just kind of like, get it done, or else. Especially the last job I had in bartending, it's just these guys just slam drinks because they work in finance, and then it is all about entitlement, and you try to cut somebody off, and then they feel like they're being harassed. It's quite opposite, but. That's just now. I'm about to get into a long road. You gotta stop me now.
We get one of
I keep serving drinks. I'm like, y'all can get alcohol poisoning. I'm not dealing with that. Go ahead.
Right. Just pay me. Yeah,
Exactly.
We get to one of the most famous scenes in the whole movie. This when Patrick kills Alan to the tune of Huey Lewis and the News. Yeah. Once again, I loved all the scenes every time Patrick explains his love for music and various musicians. I think that's just a weird character feature that I really, really like. But Mike, let's talk about that sequence of killing Alan and the little, dance routine, putting the clothes on and everything.
Why do it's so, I hate to say how fun to watch that is.
Great.
Because you could tell he could not wait. He had everything set up for the day. He laid out the newspaper, spread out all of his furniture, had the axe already set up, had the raincoat ready. So that way he's like, oh, I don't want to ruin my good suit, but I also want to wear it when I do this. I want to wear my favorite thing. And I want to be able to listen to my favorite album in my favorite play. Like, this is his day. This is his moment.
Trying to normalize murdering somebody. He's like, yeah, I'm just going to put on my favorite clothes.
This is
like his dance party, but just murder somebody. Yeah. It's totally normal what I'm doing, but not the act of what I'm doing.
His little moonwalk.
Yeah. David, I think you hit it on the head when, every time he goes into those speeches about music, it is like an alien pretending to be human, and that they know so much about stuff that we like that it's like no one should know this much detail about Huey Lewis in the News, and
who
speaks about this stuff? Even if you like music and stuff, you don't speak like that.
Trying to pretend to be normal, like you do. This dude fantasizes about murdering people, normal people that haven't even accosted him. So he knows he's got stuff to work on, which is why he's sitting there like, I'm fine. It's cool.
He does take something. He takes some kind of pill too. I don't know what it was, but
probably Xanax or Oxy before they put the regulations on it.
And then Mike, your background right now, when he's killing him, he's just swinging at him. Just his face. I love his face.
He's like, yeah.
He's having the great time.
This is so totally normal. Like, you guys don't murder people in your living room?
Like, what? You're missing out. I think this is one of the scenes that really showcases Christian Bale's ability in this film. I think one of the reasons this film works is because of his acting, and this is one of the, if you're going to showcase segments of his best acting in this film, this is one of those scenes you would show, because I think other actors could have made this scene really corny. There's a fine line. It could have just been it could have broken me out of the film completely.
Yeah,
and I think he balances it well.
Really this ends too much into comedy as well.
Exactly. He gets it just right. In fact, I think I was reading somewhere that the writer of the book wasn't so sure about the scene on paper, but then seeing it afterwards, he's like, okay, I don't mind.
You did right.
Yeah.
It definitely does. It matters about the performance. You got to have the right amount of crazy.
This takes us to the second act. Alan goes to, Patrick goes to Alan's house to make, he has a plan to make it look like, he went on vacation. And this is where we get Detective Kimball arrive, played by, what's his name?
Dafoe.
By Willem Dafoe. Mercedes, I'm talking about Willem Dafoe's. I love how this introduction is, because you think he's a cop that knows everything. Right. You think you think that he's someone that knows what he's doing. What did you think of William Dafoe?
Dr. Osborne. No, I'm kidding. Willem Dafoe is great. I mean, he's great in almost everything that he does, and I love the fact that he's just like not buying it, like at all. He's not buying it. He knows something's up, and he just can't put his finger on it. But because this person Patrick plays, perfect almost too well, he can't like put his finger on it. But I just love that whole interaction between the two of them. It's just two great scenes of acting. So yeah,
I like where Patrick tries to pretend like he's on a phone call. That's like yeah, I'll get back to you. I love that.
Yeah,
this one goes
too much for your time. Yeah,
right.
He's playing along too. It is a very much like they're
playing
this game.
They're playing
with
each other.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He's like, okay, I'll wait. And he's like, yeah, I'm so sorry.
Right.
Can I get anything? Are you sure you don't want anything? No, I'm fine, really.
I've got a meeting with Mr. Huxtable.
Dr. Huxtable. Yeah.
I was like, wait, what?
What?
I was like, wait, did you just name drop the Cosby Show?
The Cosby Show, yep.
But that's what plays into the whole alien thing, right? He thinks that's a cool thing. Yeah, I have a meeting with Dr. Huxtable.
That's not a real person.
We get our scene with another famous scene with the hookers. And while talking about Phil Collins, apparently none of them know who Phil Collins is. And that whole sex scene, I'll talk to you, Mike. What do you think about that? The whole, showing his muscles.
I mean, again,
ego
going back to his head.
I'm pretty sure men still do that.
Oh yeah, who hasn't tried that? Kind of like, okay.
I was like, yeah,
I could work out a little bit more.
Yeah. I read somewhere that Bale and the director studied porn to make sure that scene was done really well.
Well, they did well.
What are you doing today? I'm studying.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's see, and I feel like this was the glimpse of like us realizing like the crazy commitment that Bale has to like a role, because like Hollywood didn't know like how in this guy was for all of his roles in the future that we would hear about. But like this was just the beginning, and he's probably calling the director to be like, so we should study this porn scene, and the director's like, that's really not necessary, Mr. Bale. No, I want the authenticity. I'll be there in 15. Click.
All right.
Just coming up with like 15 porn videotapes. Like, here we go.
He's like, where do we start? Which one do you want to start with?
And Mike, you spoke on this on our previous podcast. I like how the scene plays out because it does start off very sensual and sexy, and it's like, then eat her ass. Like, whoa. Yeah. It just goes to 100.
Who said that's not sensual to some people? Maybe that's sexy,
But it's the scene that he's played off in. It's like, I'm going to call you Christy or something, Yeah. It's like, you're going to be Lauren. I'm butchering the name. But he's like, you're all going to play something that I've had this in my mind for a while. Again, he's very detailed. He has thought about this over and over, and he has directed this. He is the director of this sex scene that he is about to take and star in now. He sets up the camera exactly where he wants it, gets the focus right, has the mirror already set up,
He had some practice.
Exactly, yeah. Start dancing, work your way into it, and then gets to it,
Right. One of my favorite next scenes is when he meets Lewis in the bathroom in an attempt to kill him. Because before that, we get the guys all talking about what makes a good woman with good personalities, which, that scene, it shows you the nature of those guys, like in a bubble, in just one in the microcosm, and
just didn't get enough love as a kid,
right? It's like that, man. It's like that. But I love the scene. Say, I'll talk to you. Or when he goes to the bathroom to try and kill Lewis, because Lewis brings his own business card, and then Lewis thinks he's hitting on him. he's like Bateman, not here.
Meaning, like that shit has happened before. Like, we don't do this here. Like, you have to go somewhere else, darling.
It's like, I think Raven said it's like being gay saved his life. Because that's how insecure, Patrick is so insecure that he can't even murder this guy who thinks he's trying to hit on him.
Right? Because Patrick is so caught off guard, and it's just like, whoa, I just had sex with a woman kissing my own muscles. I'm definitely not into you. I'm just trying to slit your throat. Like, two different things.
He's just like,
and then he can't explain that either. Like, what he's supposed to say, like, no, dude, I just wanted to kill you and not suck your dick. Like, I'm just going to go. And that's,
He's like, you could still murder this ass.
Exactly. You're like, wait, whoa.
Where you go? Even afterwards, and Patrick runs away. He's like, Patrick, call me. And Patrick's like, which I love because again, it's one of the few times you see Patrick completely the weak one. Right?
Yep,
Completely.
that's his kryptonite. You just gotta throw a dick in front of Patrick, and Patrick is like, oh.
One of my favorite scenes is the guys taking cocaine in the bathroom. I feel like that's a very much a picture of the 1980s business world, right? It's like, were you even a businessman if you didn't take cocaine to the bathroom? Like, I'm pretty sure.
When you look at the bathroom,
now they just hide it. Now they actually go in the stall and do it. But before, in the 80s, like, it was a free for all. People were just like, "Hey, what's up?
Right?
You good? You good? You want some? You want some? Like, we're not doing this today." Now, people have the courtesy to close the bathroom stall behind them when they go to the bars and clubs. So
sometimes,
yeah. Mike has a flashback moment. Right.
The worst is when people get like upset when you walk into the bathroom and they're doing coke, and it's like, you should have been in the stall. Like, this isn't your house. They're like, oh, I'm sorry. Bitch, get in the bathroom. What are you doing in here?
And then that's where he meets another woman. I think this is the Murders and Executions woman, and it cuts to boom. He's holding her hair in the office. Again, I love that. He just cuts to her holding her hand. Your brain is like, yep, she did. she definitely got killed. And it's like he keeps trophies. He keeps a trophy. That's how crazy is he? Like, he's
just like when she was sleeping.
He's a real serial killer. Like, because the serial killers actually keep trophies. They want to remember that their kills.
Sadie, I want to talk to you about. He goes on a date with his secretary, Jean. Yeah, he pretends. I like how he pretends to call Dorcia, and they're like, "We don't have any reservations." And he's like, "Okay, good. I'll see you tonight." He's pretending.
Yeah.
and he wants to kill her, and then he kind of has a change of heart. What do you think of Jean? Because for me, Jean is someone, she's very lucky because I just feel like she's an idiot because she's like, "Oh, I can stay if you want. I don't mind doing that." So I'm like, a murderer had to force you out of his house.
Yeah, because then he was like, "You're making it too easy, bro." Like, it was like, imagine like a gazelle and a lion, and then the gazelle was like, "Take me," and the lion would be like, "Nah, he probably got a disease or something. I'm just gonna go get a healthy wine."
Right.
This is. It's true. It's like bears don't eat things that are dead. Like, predators don't like, and so he's a true predator in a sense. And like the whole time, and Jean, this whole movie's just been doing a little too much, with the whole outfits and trying so hard with work. And so I think she kind of plays upon his whole I think she kind of touches his feelings a little bit into where it annoys him, not where she touches his feelings where he's like, "Oh, okay, I won't kill anymore."
It's too easy for him.
It's just like, no, I'd just rather pick somebody else. So I think he wants the thrill of like taking it from like all the people that he does kill, the people that are like these vain, materialistic people. And Jean, to a sense, is not materialistic, and she's just doing this a means to an end. Like this, she's trying to make money. So it definitely takes him out of his, takes him out of his comfort zone, his fun of it. Like, no.
I agree. Patrick has a second lunch with a detective, and who lets him know that apparently he has an alibi and he was somewhere. And he's like, "Wait, what? Okay." He's like, "You were there too. Apparently people said you were there." He's like, "Yes, I was there too." And it plays on, like you said, Mike, at the beginning, it plays on the idea that everybody is just the same as everybody. They're all pawns and no one can tell the difference, even the detective. I mentioned the last podcast that the way William Dafoe's character was written, the director had Willem Dafoe play each scene 3 times. The first time he'd play as if he knows for sure Patrick is the bad guy. Second time he plays as if he's not quite sure Patrick's the bad guy. And the third time plays as if he has no idea that Patrick is involved at all. And in editing, she would pick and choose which version they would do. That's why his character comes across very kind of like wobbly. But I kind of like it. It adds kind of a character trait to him in a weird way.
It does, and it helps with like the whole like obviously the ending and the big aha. So I love that part of it.
Patrick goes back to the prostitute who's reluctant when she's like, "I had to go to the hospital and get stitches last time." I was like, "Damn, how far did you take things? And why are you going back to this guy?"
That's right.
People go do whatever they can for money, right? He coerces her into a threesome with one of his good friends by drugging them up, which leads to one of our first on-screen kills. Mike, after I don't know what he does to his friend Evelyn. He starts like biting her down there or something. Does he bite her vaginas?
Exactly, because then you come up and he's got blood all over his face, and the first time I watched it, I'm like, is that a piece of skin hanging out of his mouth?
Yeah, we don't need to keep talking about it.
I couldn't
as a
tell.
female in the podcast.
I was
Yeah.
like, what?
We
And
don't
so
talk about
obviously-
biting, no biting vaginas, no biting penises.
Nope.
No.
Nope.
Right, and I love when she makes fun of him for liking Whitney Houston. Like he
cute.
loves Whitney Houston, like super
Own a
passionate.
Whitney Houston album.
She's like, what? He owns
Although I
albums?
think it's hilarious that he does love Whitney Houston, like American
Right.
Psycho, Patrick Bateman, Whitney Houston, Huey Lewis in the News.
But the thing is, he says to the
Cool,
detective,
cool.
I don't like Huey Lewis because he's too black sounding for me. So he doesn't want to admit that he likes it. You know, he's that person that he likes black stuff and culture and music. He just doesn't want to do it. But nobody can know
Sound
about
like
it. Yeah. And you know when the woman smartly runs away, but she doesn't do the smart stuff. She stays on the inside of the staircase. Always go on the outside of the staircase because that's how Patrick
It's like
gets
you've never
her.
been chased by a chainsaw before.
Right,
you know?
right. That was a cool way to kill someone, dropping a
With
chainsaw. I mean, that's
I'm
good timing,
surprised though. Also, that like she's trying to bang on all the neighbors' doors,
right?
and
Nobody would.
everyone's ignoring this. I'm like, oh, if I were a neighbor, you hear a chainsaw outside.
Right. Like if you would hear, thank you, Mike. Thank you for bringing that up. Like
I think I would call someone, but I am not stepping outside.
I'm just
you're,
saying,
you're
New Yorkers, New Yorkers
peeking
like,
through the,
right?
the door. Like,
You are right out there.
Especially New
Yeah,
Yorkers.
that's not
New
my
Yorkers. No, New Yorkers be like, shh, be quiet so no one knows we're in here. You know, be quiet in your house.
like, damn.
And no,
That's
we
fucked
don't
up
want to
for
help
them.
them. Don't let them know we're home.
Right.
That's so true, though.
We mind our business. Man.
Right.
So true.
I love where he tries to tell his fiancée the truth over dinner. He's even drawing, doodling the murder he just did. And she's just like, oh, no, you're okay. Don't worry about it. Like, she doesn't want to hear it. And then we get a little sense, Mike and I talked about it on the previous podcast. We get a little hint that Patrick's father owns the company. And it's one of the reasons why she probably likes him and everything like that. I thought it was very interesting that she just doesn't care, like everyone else doesn't care. Which takes us to our next scene when Patrick leaves. Did Sadie's cut off? Is she out? I think she
I'm not sure.
might have accidentally cut
Their
off.
phone died. I think.
Yeah, phone probably died. But Mike, we will carry on going. We will hold on to this team. Where am I? Yeah, and this is where the murder spree happens. Patrick's finally gone crazy. He tries to kill a cat, and the old lady's like, "What are you doing?" Kills the cat.
Oh yeah.
Kills the
ATM
lady.
is just like feed cat into ATM.
Right.
That's when you're heading into something a little bit more, not even like fictional, but now it's going into a more psychological game.
Exactly. I think what it is in this scene is that you start to slowly see finally Patrick's being fully unraveled. He's seeing things like the ATM talking to him and things like that. Or when he's killing everyone, he goes into the wrong building. He thinks it's his building. Sees the wrong guy, oh shit! Kills the guy. He's like, oh shit. And then I love the sequence where he blows up the police car. And he just looks at his gun like, what the fuck?
Oh yeah. Now that's when it's like you're blowing up cars with a pistol.
Where it's
He's like, this can't be real. Even he's got that face like, this isn't. What is this?
What is going on? But I think from Derek, the director, saying, because a lot of people thought this last act of the film all happens in his mind, but the director said that's not the case. Well, the director said that's not the case. It all happens. It's just that it's a twisted version of what happened, but it did happen. It's just that his mind, he's adding things to it. So like he was shooting at the police officers. It probably didn't blow up. His mind saw the blow up, but he was still shooting at police officers, things like that. He calls his lawyer because he's realizing, oh shit, I'm going crazy. And again, wonderful performance by Christian Bale. Mike, what did you think of that whole sequence of just calling? It's almost like
It was a confessional there.
Yeah, confessional or what's a monologue type thing.
Yeah. Oh no, for sure. I mean, I think I tried using this monologue once in acting school, but it really now paints a picture of his full self. You think like, oh, you've only witnessed the murders that we've seen in the movie, and now it's just like, oh no, he's going over and over, and I've killed dozens and dozens, and this last week I just had to kill a lot of people,
right?
And and then like the whole time you're seeing the helicopter in the back, the flashlight looking for him, and it's like, okay, this actually might be legit, or still might be in his head. But now it's you're still stuck. Like now you feel like you don't know if this is real or not. If everything he's actually saying is true. It's now we're in like a muddled place where it's this now taking us out of reality or not.
But and he confesses all of this, but as if last act shows us, none of that matters. It shows us a world where it's easier for people to kind of pretend that things like this didn't happen than to deal with it. One of the best examples, he goes back to Alan's apartment, finds out it's all been cleaned out, everything's gone, and the woman selling it, you almost get a sense that she knows what happened. But guess what? It's easier if I have to report to the police, which means I have to take out this apartment from off the market, which means I can't sell it, can't make any money. It's easy to just sweep it under the table.
First time I watched it, though, I could have sworn, I'm like, maybe this all was in its head. Maybe this apartment never existed.
See, that's what I thought.
How would he know where to go, in the first place, or what to look for? And now looking back, the reaction from that realtor,
face, you can tell.
She does that trick question. Is like, did you see the ad in the Times? She's like, no. Yeah, the Times. He's like, there was no ad in the Times. And I'm like, I think you should go. I was like, what? He's like,
she definitely knows. She knows now. She definitely knows.
She cleaned all this up, and it's like, you had something to do with it. Well, I just do this and make my money. That's and that caught me for a surprise second time around. Yeah.
Right. And even when he confronts the lawyer in person, the lawyer keeps calling him Marcus. Gives the wrong name. It made me realize it's not that it didn't happen, is that he's, I'm assuming, the lawyer for the whole company. So to him, everyone's the same person, and I'm sure he's also a lawyer, again, for this kind of company. I'm sure he's a lawyer that's had to sweep a lot of things under the rug. So maybe he even knows. And he's like, well, if you don't tell me about it, I don't know about it.
It's like, no, you're Marcus.
Yeah. You're Marcus now.
Everyone's Marcus.
Yeah. I saw Paul Allen in Paris. Okay.
Yeah.
It's one of those things, like, it's a big conspiracy, right? All these big companies, you always hear things like that where CEOs or some people, employees, they get away with the craziest things. If Donald Trump said, I can go down the street, shoot someone, no one will care. I can grab a woman by the pussy, nobody cares. It's that archetype, that same mentality.
Exactly that, yeah.
And that archetype is created because it's not just the individual, it's the whole culture has been ignoring. The whole entire culture surrounded it allows it to slip through. So that's why you get people like this happening. I thought the ending, was really interesting. Sadie, I'll talk to you about that, where the movie ends with him essentially getting away with everything.
Yeah, like Mike said before, like, I definitely thought this whole time that things didn't happen. Like, he was definitely going through a moment of psychosis, and his mind was literally on the verge to break. So maybe at the end of the movie, we're going to see him, like, commit these murders now. But watching it, you actually know, like, oh, wow, we just ripped the Band-Aid off, and now it's about to overflow with, all of the stuff that he could, be doing, because he basically just got away with this scot-free. No consequences. Like, really no consequences, not even like a shred of remorse. Like, do I feel bad for these victims? Did I leave them with no family or anything like that? There was no he saw no consequence for any of the actions that he did. So he just, like, I think that reinforces the type of people that we see now in this day and age. I mean, like, they feel that they can do whatever they want. Look at the president that we have.
Yeah.
So
and it's
but I also
gone.
Sorry, I was gonna say, but also I think for Patrick, the character, he says at the very end, it's like this confession that's meant nothing, and he doesn't even seem, at first he seems very happy that he got away with it, but also part of any serial killer is that they want recognition. They want to be known as this person who did all this stuff, and I think even for himself, he's all about entitlement and being all about status, and the fact that now he's lost that everything he's done, he only knows about. And it doesn't mean anything to anyone. I will never get caught for that. Great, there's no consequences, but he also kind of maybe secretly wants consequences. Maybe
wasn't he a fan of Ted
wants
Bundy?
Recognition.
Wasn't he a fan of Ted Bundy earlier on?
Sadistic.
Yeah, I think what you were saying, Mike, hit the nail on the head. Like, you're right. Serial killers don't necessarily just do this because they don't want to get caught, but they also want to have, like, their name in there. They want to have, like, the killer clown, or, like, say, like, whatever sort of recognition they're going to get. They need that. So to do all of this, carnage and bloodshed, and then to have everyone be like, go about your business, like, it's kind of like, what was the point of that? Like, even for him, I don't think he's like feels bad about, like, taking lives. He just feels bad about wasting his own time. Like a selfishness kind of thing. Like, he's like, I could have been making money, and I just murdered these people, not because I just took these lives, which is kind of like the best part of that scene.
And I think both of you hit it perfectly. I think when you look at the whole film as a whole and all the little pieces, it's this guy who's in an environment where everyone's the same, and he's trying his very best to stand out. Do I put a business card? Everyone has a business card. Do I want to get in good shape? Everyone looks good. Do I get a good suit? Everyone has a good suit. So his whole thing is the only difference is that he's now a murderer and then he gets away with all of it. Tries to tell everyone about it, to confess. But nobody cares. Nobody listens. Nobody listens to you.
Back where he started.
Yeah, exactly. You're just like everybody else. You don't stand out for good or bad. You're just like everybody else. And you'd think they would want to stand out by actually working, but nobody does any work in those places. Nobody does any work. Like Mercedes, do you know what he does? Do you know what he actually does?
Murders and accusations.
Oh yes,
acquisitions.
Sorry.
Now I put that on you. Now I got it. Yeah.
Murders and accusations.
Murders and accusations.
Someone should have that.
That's what it's gonna be forever.
Mike, next time you dress up as him for Halloween, you have to have a business card that says murders and accusations.
Accusations, not acquisitions. Mergers and acquisitions. Murders and executions. Yeah.
Anyway,
that was the best part.
On that note, thank you, Mercedes.
Thank you, Dave. It's always a pleasure.
Thank you, Rocket Mike.
Hey, thank you.
Thank you all for listening. My name's English Dave, and this has been a Back to the Future on American Psycho. And hope you guys all have a happy Halloween, because that's why we did this movie. And as always, Mercedes,
keep it nerdy.
Keep it nerdy, nerds. Happy Halloween. Peace.
Happy Halloween.
Peace.